how's it going? I'm here to do your reading for the last half of June, so June 15th to June 30th for Aries. This is the chart for right now. You know, I like to start with the astrology. And this is actually a very busy 2 weeks. And the best sort of analogy I can give for it is, you know, when you go on a roller coaster before it takes off, there's a whole series of preparations. You have to get in line in the proper turnstile so that when the train comes in, you can just file in, or whatever the ride is, you file in immediately. They don't have to sit there and say, okay, 2, okay, 3. That's done while it's happening. And then once you're in, you have to get settled and buckle up and pull down that bar. And then the guy goes through and he checks everything and he makes sure that the belts are working and that there's no free seats and that adults are in the right place and children. So there's this whole process that happens before you actually get on the ride. Now, the ride is the eclipses that are coming up in July. And the first one is a total solar eclipse on July 2nd. So this period, June 15th to the 30th, which, as I said, is very busy, is kind of that moment, right? So before things take off in whichever direction they're going to go, there's a whole lot of things that have to like sort of line up and take place. Now, the first thing that happens is on June 16th, that's tomorrow because this is the 15th, Neptune, which is stationing, is going to exactly square Jupiter. Now, this is their second pass. The third pass, I believe, is in September. And this has been asking, you know, are your dreams big enough? Are they too big? What's your personal, like, are you living your personal truth? Are your personal truths illusions? So there's a conflictual conversation between illusion, dream, higher realm of spirituality, as well as expansion, belief systems, truths. You know, in my Jupiter retrograde video, it said that this entire Jupiter retrograde was really going to be about finding what our truth is. And it's actually quite interesting because, well, hold on, I'll get there in a second. Come back to that on the full moon. So on the same day, which is tomorrow, we also have Mercury right here in Cancer, which is going to oppose Saturn. Now, this is a heavy energy. It can be temporary setbacks. It can be harsh thinking, harsh communication. It can be like all you see is obstacles in your mind and can't really see. This is, you know, they're making a quincunx here, which is also Jupiter is in all this energy's blind spot. So it's like there is a way out, but we can't see it yet. Or we're not looking at it because we're focused on this area here. And if we would just sort of open up our peripheral, we would see that Jupiter is actually giving us a hand, even though it's weak, you know, it's still the planet of good luck. It's just sort of lessened. But right here, this quincunx to all these planets is in our blind spot. And so you're going to be focused here. That may be, as I said, disappointment, harsh thinking, harsh communication. Mercury at the same time is trining Neptune here, who again is stationing. So this is actually quite a nice intuitive thought, intuitive creativity. So, you know, it's like you may have some sort of brilliant idea here that comes to you very intuitively, but you don't trust it because Saturn's like, that'll never work. Now, that actually, so within that, you know, within the obstacle is usually the solution. Because you have Saturn here, who is sextiling Neptune. So these guys are actually, well, this is in opposition, so it'll feel like a tension. This is in a positive relationship, and this is in a positive relationship. So whatever that obstacle is that comes in to block your thinking or to block your communications, there is a helpful solution in there. Again, it's just, you might not be seeing it, but it is there because he's working together with Neptune to say, maybe you have an overly exaggerated or optimistic idea, and Saturn's like, okay, fine, great idea, but did you consider that there's not enough clients, or did you consider that he's been divorced 15 times, or did you consider? So whatever this did you consider here on this idea that you get about expanding your thinking or whatever, it's a gift. So just try and answer that question. Don't feel like upset and frustrated and like, fuck you, Saturn, like I do all the time. The question that he's asking you has an answer. When you find it, that's when you know you're dealing with something that's concrete and not just sort of like fantasy. Now, on the 17th, we have a full moon in Sagittarius. It's at 25:52. The Sabian for that symbol is a flag bearer in battle. And I'll do a report on the moon as always. But a flag bearer in battle is really like, what do you want to stand for? Whose flag do you want to carry? Whose flag are you flying? It's quite funny also that sort of comes up in Pride Month. But, whose flag are you going to carry into, like, what's worth fighting for? And since this is at the galactic center, it's a little off. Galactic center, they say, is at 27 Sagittarius, but we'll say it's close enough, within 1 degree. You may find truth flying out. You may find emotions flying out. You may find information flying out. It's called the whistleblower's degree because it tends to be present in many whistleblower charts. And when it's activated, like some secret information comes flying out because it's the point of connection between our galaxy and another. So it's sort of this two-way highway. So this full moon here may be interesting in terms of receiving new information. And since it's, it's in Sagittarius, it will also, this may provide that sort of blind spot information that was missing in this conversation. Now, carrying on, as I said, Saturn will sextile Neptune precisely on the 18th. Mercury will move to Mars on the 18th as well. So that means your thoughts and your actions are very much aligned. On the 19th, Mercury opposes Pluto. And that can be sort of very harsh, powerful, controlling thoughts. There may be someone who comes in who tries to control the way you're thinking, who tries to play manipulative games, who tries to mind fuck. That Pluto energy is tough. Also because on the 20th, Mars goes into opposition precisely with Pluto. And this is all kind of going on right now. But Mars in opposition to Pluto can be a battle of the wills, right? So if you find that there are sort of, because this is the planet of war, like earthly war, and this is the planet of nuclear war. So when the two of them are in a heated conversation, it's best to move into this Neptune energy, because this can quickly escalate into mutually assured destruction if you don't point that energy to a third party, right? So if there turns out to be some sort of war on the ground in your life, move into the Neptune. Have somebody take the place of the Neptune, which says, hey, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? And because Neptune is going retrograde on the 21st, same day as the equinox, Neptune may actually go back into retrograde to find the answer to this heated discussion. But if you find people not backing down, lots of competition, one of you is going to win, or like both of you will die trying, move into this sort of softer energy and find what's the higher realm of what would the spiritual answer to this dilemma be. Again, 21st equinox, Neptune goes retrograde. On the 23rd, where are we? Venus will oppose Jupiter. Can be kind of like overspending there. Venus will also square Neptune. These can be lies, creativity, disillusions around disillusions around the pleasure principle, that which brings you pleasure. Something may have looked better than it is in reality, or you may not be seeing that woman clearly. There may be a duality story. She may have two men because it's in Gemini. And then on the 27th, Mercury goes into Leo. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, which is interesting, on the 20th, when Mars is in opposition of Pluto, Pluto's kind of like shadow energy, that is also the same day that Mercury starts its shadow phase of its retrograde. So the degree it will find itself on the 20th, which should be 22, that's when its shadow phase starts. So that's when the story, whatever story you'll be dealing with during the Mercury retrograde in July, that's when you can start gathering clues. And some of the clues may come out with that full moon in Sagittarius. So all in all, a rather busy 2 weeks, astrologically speaking. Let's see what the cards have to say. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So we're here to do the cards for Aries for the time period of June 15th to June 30th, 2019. What energies can Aries expect? Very nice creation. That's kind of that Neptune energy, I feel like. This woman's sort of connected to all the natural spirits. Which is interesting. I actually wrote an article on that yesterday. Ooh. Okay. Cards coming out fast. Okay. Thinker and by the book. That's very interesting. So it's almost like to think out of the box kind of thing. And you see how she's sitting on a box? So that there's some maybe, when I said when I was talking in the astrological piece about Jupiter holding the solution, but it being in our blind spot, so we're not really able to see it. And this, it's like she's very focused on where she's looking. And this one's kind of getting a vibe from a tree, right? So you wouldn't normally go to a tree to get an answer, but somehow the answer is coming in and empowering her in ways that are not concrete. Okay? And so it's like the answer may come to us in ways we're not expecting. This talks about, if this is the sort of natural order of things and the way you expect things to go, 1, 2, 3, what this is saying is that's kind of like on its head. So there may be in that full moon that I was mentioning, some information that comes to us. It may not look the way we think it's going to look. It may be topsy-turvy, but you kind of have to trust your intuition that what's coming to you, even though it may not necessarily feel tangible or be in the box that you think it's going to be, that it's actually very powerful. Now let's go to here. Flip that. Find out what the Dutch cards have to say for Aries for June 15th to June 30th. June 15th, June 30th for Aries. What energy? Medium. So I'm going to guess, of course I have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure this has to do with intuition as well. It's kind of like, you see how there's purple fog around her and the same purple fog there, which is a very spiritual energy. So I imagine that there's going to be sort of a lot of psychic energy resonating around us at this time. Now let me get the tarot and then I'll look this up and we'll figure out, put the pieces of the story together. I already shuffled these, but I'm going to shuffle them again. Interesting. Those are both kind of fun energies. King of Wands and Temperance at the bottom. So kind of like Jupiter energy. So I feel like that Jupiter may actually be speaking more than we think so. It's because we're not really focused on him right now because he's in an unusual position. Can I have 3 cards for Aries for the period of June 15th to June 30th? But I do believe, as you know, he always has the truth, or he's actually in search of the truth, and he's in search of your truth. And we may not be seeing it because we're looking in a very specific direction. That is way too many cards. Fool was at the bottom there. You know, we're focused on that Saturn. We're focused on the Pluto. We're focused on the South Node. Oh my God, it came out again. Love that. Love that. That's like always my favorite thing. And you know, it's like this is also Aries card, but it's like, you know, the Fool kind of like off in foreign lands in search of its truth. And we may not be seeing it right now because Jupiter's got it. Interesting. King of Swords. King of Swords, which is, you know, I said that full moon may rush in with some information. So it almost looks like, doesn't he look like he's like running in to tell him something? He's like, hey, hold on, before you jump off that cliff, you need to know this, right? So it's like and there's all these clouds again here. So there may be, we may be getting some kind of warning or some information that we need to know before we jump off that cliff. And it looks to me like it's not, like I said, it's not going to come in through necessarily usual channels. Clouds here also. I may have one more card for Aries for the period of June 15th to June 30th. So I would pay attention to, not unusual, but just really pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to your feelings. I had a situation this week where it's like, I knew I shouldn't have done it. Like I knew, again, with too many. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I did it anyway. And then it ended up being a total waste of time. So, you know, when you get those vibes, those are warnings. Okay. And there we go, 4 of Cups. So yeah, so that we may be getting some information. And look at these two, you know, they're both kind of like lost in thought. And they're focusing on the wrong thing. And there's this meme that goes on the internet, or that I've seen on the internet, which is really funny, which is like, it says like, the guy says like, how do I be happy? Another one is like, take the fucking cup, dude. So it may be that wherever our attention is focused right now is actually not, it's like we're not paying attention to where we're supposed to be paying attention. This guy's about to walk off a cliff. This guy's focused on the 3 cups he has instead of looking at the one that's coming in. This person's contemplating the boxes when really what it looks like, you know, in this kind of like also urban setting, when it's like the answer is here in nature. So give me 1 second. Let me look this up and I will be right back. Okay, so interesting. It's a little trippy actually, because so this card is really just frankly flat out about being a medium and receiving messages from the spirit world, from ancestors or family members who have passed on. And this is, you know, kind of the same vibe, like I said, that it's, I would say there's like wisdom in your history, like your family tree, or you know, like are there patterns from the past that are being repeated? A lot of us have sort of chosen this lifeline to put a stop to a lot of the patterns that have been repeating in our family lines for generations. And so we are overburdened with these because first we had to live the pattern so many times to become clear on it and then heal it. So this definitely talks about finding wisdom, both of these, in your intuition, in receiving the wisdom of your ancestors, of listen and of being open to receiving direct communication from them. This card too says that it's a bit, it's time for a revolt, like to do things completely differently. It also says, and both of these two say as well, that it's a time to make choices. It's kind of like enough waffling. It's time to pick a path, or pick the guy, pick the job, pick the route, because as long as you sort of stay in this space of thinking, you risk missing opportunities that are coming into you, and you also risk getting into something that or in psychiatry they call analysis paralysis, which means that you're so busy analyzing the options that you actually just end up not doing anything, which is worse. So, even in this, it's like I said, there was some sort of like coming from the clouds to deliver you some information before, like rushing to save you before you rush off a cliff. And to give you guidance on the path that you're choosing. This too is like, this is the preset path, and it's telling you to sort of write your own path. But to write that own path infused with the wisdom that you have gathered from not only your ancestors and your ancestral patterns, but also if any of you have a guardian spirit that or that there's someone like your grandparents or a passed on cousin or something like that who is looking out for you, or actually like trying to be open to creating a dialogue with that spirit world, that they will be providing you with wisdom and information on your next step on this journey. Now, the one thing this card does say, because it's quite interesting, that all talk about intuition, right? But this one says that facts are still facts, So it says, be open to intuition, listen to the messages that come from beyond, that come on the clouds or brought in by the wind, things that, you can, it's like, this guy can't necessarily see him, but he might like be able to perceive him. So what are your perceptions on that situation? But this also invites you to pay attention to the facts, Maya Angelou said, believe, the first time a person shows you who they are, believe them. And so this also warns about, yes, open to intuition. Be careful about falling into illusions. So be very clear on that which is your intuition. And we usually know when we're painting fairy tales for ourselves. And so it says to yes, trust the intuition, open up a dialogue with other spiritual sources on your next step. But always keep one foot rooted in facts. And here the facts are that, yeah, you got those 3 cups, but there's also one that's being offered to you, right? And as long as your arms are crossed and kind of whiny about whatever happened here, there's actually an opportunity that's being missed. And so it does also warn about this analysis paralysis. So to be rooted in, and these are kind of all, I can see that Jupiter, like I said, the blind spot with Jupiter and Neptune talking about truths coming from spiritual realms, but also the ability to distinguish between that which is truth and that which is illusion. And then Saturn at the same time sextiling that Neptune, saying, yeah, but hey, facts are still facts. In this earthly realm, gravity still wins against anything else. Gravity still wins against anything else. And so if you step off that cliff and you haven't accounted for the rules of our 3D universe, you are going to plummet. So it's a careful calculation. It's like like I said, before the ride takes off and we're excited for what's to come and we're going to see all the thrills of going up and down and over and around, first we have to check our belts. We have to make sure that's it, is the person over 14, you know, so it's like they're before the fun or the adventure, before the exhilaration of creativity happens, you have to double check that the rules and laws of physical science and the universe in which we exist are being met. So it's kind of like an encouragement and a warning at the same time. Literally, just like a make sure your seatbelts are fastened, without turning into like, you know, the Debbie Downer who's like, oh my God, I'm so, you know, this is gonna be the worst ride ever. And to sort of like buckle up because, you know, things are kind of about to take off, and he just wants you to remember that, hey, you should probably open your eyes because you want to see what's coming at you. Okay, I will see you on Monday. We'll do sort of the midweek read. No, actually, Monday I'll do the full moon, and then like on Wednesday I'll do that sort of midweek reading with the other cards. Hope this was helpful. Wishing you a very happy week. Take care.